Hi folks, if you know our show, you'll know that we're often drunk, and that can cause us to do silly things like not turn our microphones on. Unfortunately, that's happened this episode. We ask you to forgive the audio. If you don't have it in your heart to forgive the audio, please turn it off, listen to another episode, or go and read a book. If you can handle it, you're in for a great chat about The Father, starring Sir Anthony Hopkins. Both Baron and I predicted that Sir Anthony would win an Oscar for his performance, and indeed he has. So we thought we owed it to the world to release this, even if it sounds pretty ordinary. So enjoy or not, and we'll see you next time. Hello, film fans and film students and film lovers all around the world. You're here with the Doc, that's me, and the Baron.
That is me.
And we're here for the latest installment of That Reminds Me Of. And this episode, we're looking at Father, starring Anthony Hopkins and several other wonderful people. Baron?
I don't even know what I'm meant to say right now. I think I say this is the show where we watch films and then we're reminded of films while we're watching those films. We talk about them, and that's why it's called That Reminds Me Of. And there are spoilers in this show, so carry on, stick with us.
That's exactly what you were meant to say. So here we are, Father by, what's the director's name? It's a Frenchie.
It is Frenchie. I can't remember is the answer. I had it on my phone and I've lost it.
Well, I entered this film not knowing anything about it, and I'm happy about that. I think we've talked about this before, where we go in with no baggage.
That's the best way to see a film. There really should be no other way to see a film.
Because otherwise you come to it with either, hoping to see something great that you've seen before or expecting to see something crap. But here I had no preconceived ideas.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful way to see a film.
It sure is. And Florian Zeller is the director.
Yeah.
And a killer cast.
It is.
What a killer cast, really. Like, Olivia Colman is probably one of my favorite actresses at the moment.
She's one of everyone's favorite actresses.
She's everybody's favorite actress.
Yeah.
In fact, casting her is almost a cliche at this point because she's an obvious choice. She's going to be amazing.
True.
Okay.
Well, Anthony Hopkins, is he a cliche?
Well, he was, and then I think we forgot about him a little bit, right? Because it's been a little while, and now this performance, and he's back.
Wow.
He's back. He's back in spades.
He is.
But before we get into that, I think we should talk about, and by the way, I should mention we've had a few drinks tonight. So if this is a little more sort of loose than usual, forgive us.
Well, we're always pretty loose. We've always had a few.
That's true. This is more than usual.
This is more than usual because if you recall, if you can remember that far back, I ducked out like about a third of the way through because I needed to go to the bathroom, and I thought I'd come back with like a massive schooner of red wine.
A freaking almost a bottle each of red wine.
Yeah.
We then drank.
Okay, but I think that'll lubricate the conversation, so that's good.
As always.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? Let's talk about the film and do a little synopsis. Do you want to take it away, Doc?
Oh, very convenient.
Yeah.
Well, no, I think this is an easy synopsis because it's about a gentleman, Anthony Hopkins, who has dementia or some form of old age forgetfulness. And he's got his daughter, who is played by Fleabag.
Yeah.
And she's just struggling with a parent who is going through this.
Wait. You said his daughter's played by Fleabag?
It's not Fleabag.
It's not.
No, it's.
I was like, yep. Wait a second. What?
Yeah, it's Peep Show. His daughter is played by Peep Show. Sorry, I didn't mean Fleabag. I'm getting my British comedies mixed up.
Also, great actress.
She's a great actress, but she's from Fleabag. No, sorry, she's from Peep Show.
Or The Crown more recently.
Or The Crown, but no, I go back, sometime.
Cool.
Wow. If we don't edit that out, please forgive me.
We'll keep it in for comedy.
So his daughter is played by Olivia Colman. Let's just
this is it. Yeah.
Say that's
Everyone
her name.
knows that.
Look, there's not much to say about the plot, really. It's more the situation of a daughter dealing with the parent who is suffering from dementia, but also the parent and their feelings going through this. And like someone who's suffering through this, I think you really feel the anxiety of what Anthony Hopkins is going through. So I don't know that there's much more set up than that. It's just a situation with someone suffering from dementia and seeing it from both sides.
Yep. And it's all set in a house or a version of the same house, which is a clever premise or machination that happens in this film, where you start off in what is Anthony Hopkins' apartment, and then it becomes his daughter's apartment, and then it becomes a nursing home, and it's all the same setup. The hallways are all kind of the same, the front door's kind of the same. Beautifully done. That was one of the most clever things about this. Aside from that, in terms of tricks, sort of tricksy film things, it's played very straight. There's not very much to it. It's almost a play. But what makes it, I think, was that really clever use of the apartment and how it keeps shifting and changing, and how the characters all keep shifting and changing, and how Anthony Hopkins you can see the unraveling of this father figure.
You really can. I think you hit on it. There's 2 points I'd like to make. One, that it feels like a play, and the director, I just Wikipedia'd him.
Yeah.
And I've never heard of him before, but he's French, and he's predominantly done plays, novels and plays.
Yeah.
So that's why it has that theatrical feel, like you feel like you could be seeing this on the stage.
Yes.
The second part is, I think you really do see it all play out from Anthony Hopkins' perspective. It's the scenes one after another that don't seem to connect for him as a person that's experiencing problems with his memory and piecing things together.
Yeah.
And that's what made it so vivid and beautiful for me, rather than being someone from the outside dealing with it. It's really the experience of the person that is going through it.
Probably most people haven't dealt with Alzheimer's and other sorts of forms of dementia, and I haven't. You get a real sense of what it might be like, just being in his headspace, essentially.
Yeah.
So because you're in his headspace, you can then easily imagine how everyone else who is living with someone with dementia is experiencing it, and you have this unique sympathy for that person, which I don't think you get from a lot of film, where you have a portrayal of Alzheimer's or dementia.
I think you regularly get the feeling of dealing with someone who's going through that, but not regularly what it feels like to go through that.
Yeah.
If we want to talk about, acting chops and the performances, like Anthony Hopkins, I think everyone loves and respects him. I don't think too much about him. I just assume that he's a good actor, but he really brought it here.
Oh my God.
Did he not? Do you want to talk about how wonderful Anthony Hopkins is?
So fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Is the answer. But I don't think I was particularly impressed beyond this is Anthony Hopkins doing his thing. Until we study it towards the end.
Correct. There's a scene.
There is a scene where, spoiler alert, where he basically, right at the end of the film, he basically regresses into his childhood state, and he starts calling for his mum.
Oh, wasn't that wonderful?
That is the Oscar. If he doesn't get the Oscar, I don't know what. I do not know what to say. That one scene is it, in my opinion. It's beautiful.
Well, that's the scene. Spoiler alert for the Oscars, not for the film, for the Oscars.
Yes.
Because they are going to play that scene when they're announcing the nominees.
My God, absolutely they will.
Like, there's nothing surer.
It's heart-wrenching. It's heart-wrenching.
The bit that got me, because the first bit that got me, like the whole film got me to a certain extent. Yeah. But when he's saying, who are you? So who is this guy? And who am I?
Yeah.
When he asked, who am I?
Yeah.
Like it was an undercurrent of the whole film that he wasn't quite sure who he was and where he fitted in. But when he articulated it, because he was such a stubborn prick, such a stubborn prick of a man, you can imagine what he would have been like in his heyday.
Oh, freaking powerhouse.
Powerhouse.
Yeah.
But then to see him regress and then really wonder who the hell he is, that was the turning point. And from there, it got all emotive, where he really broke down a bit. But it was that moment of who am I that really struck me. We'd had a couple of wines by then. I nearly shed a tear. I didn't, but I was pretty emotional.
I was welling up, and I could hear, audibly hear around me in the audience, people going, oh, suffering, because he just seems so vulnerable.
Yeah,
and he really brought it. And a guy like Anthony Hopkins, who normally plays a very powerful character,
he does.
to see him so vulnerable was really touching, and there was something beautiful about the performance. Like, I don't know how many takes they did of that, but that was the one. Like, they when they saw that,
Mm.
the whole set would have just been spellbound.
But he feels so in control of his craft. Dare I say? I don't like the word craft very often. Like I think actors use that too often.
Yeah,
But he does seem so in control of his craft that could have been the first take.
absolutely. And that control is part of what I think makes him feel contrived in some ways sometimes. Like, you just sort of like, well, that's him. He just knows how to do this stuff.
Yeah,
It's the craft.
he does know.
Yeah.
But this went deeper, didn't it?
It went deeper.
This went to really, like we've seen him be Hannibal Lecter.
Yes.
We've seen him be the architect of Westworld. We've seen him do several.
Great point. Yes.
We've seen him be the butler in whatever the Kazuo Ishiguro novel, Remains of the Day.
Yeah.
But we haven't seen him break down like that.
No, and actually Westworld's a good call, because that is probably the most recent thing that we've seen him in, where we've gone solid. That's what you expect.
But he's there for his name and to sell tickets, isn't he? Sell tickets on Netflix or wherever it is.
Netflix tickets. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He's going to be a draw card. He's going to be solid.
Yeah.
You're always looking forward to seeing him on camera, but you're not expecting too much more than that, right?
Yeah.
This film, I think he just brings it on such a great level.
No, I think Westworld, he brings in the money. He brings in whatever fancy house he's living in.
Yes.
This one, he brings his legacy. I think this is going to be Academy Award bait. How could you go past it, I would suggest?
I find it hard to imagine. And we've seen a number of the films now that are going to be showing up at the Academy Awards. Lots of solid entries there, but just in terms of performances, I find this hard to walk by, really.
Yeah, I don't think you can. There's not even much to say about it. I ducked off, remember? I ducked off for 5 minutes to get a drink.
Yes.
And I don't even care what I missed, to be honest.
Let's talk about that. You made a comment when you came back, and I think you said, I didn't miss anything, or same place, or nothing changed.
That's
something
true.
along those lines.
Yeah.
That's a fair criticism. I don't know if you meant it as a criticism. But
half.
Yeah. So the film does take place in the same apartment, or version of it. Some of that's genius. Other parts of it did just feel a little bit like we were like, come on, let's move it along. Let's see something new. Where are we going? It did sort of meander, I think, in the middle a bit.
I think I just knew that was the format of the film.
Right.
That it was playing with time and space, and that I got that they were trying to show that Anthony Hopkins was being in several places at once and messing up his times. So I knew that they were going to play with that. I was enjoying it, but I didn't really care if I missed 5 minutes of it.
Yeah.
But that's weird. I would normally be very against walking out of the theatre.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's keep this short. You want to talk about what it reminded you of, if anything?
All right, first one is, I think, maybe an obvious one, but Amor.
Oh, bloody, what do you always choose my reminds me?
Well, we've talked about Amor before.
Have we?
We've talked about Haneke before. A couple times.
I've talked about Haneke, certainly. Yes. I don't feel that we talked about Amor, but I want to.
It was brought up at one point, a long time ago.
Yeah.
But yes, Amor, I felt that, we have the similar situation of an apartment in Europe. It's kind of slow moving. We feel trapped, and we're dealing with old age and loss. Loss of memories in this case, and loss of identity. And whereas Amor is like the loss of a loved one. That's in here a little bit as well.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. That was the first one. It almost seemed too much like Amor. Yeah. Like, I'm sure when the very start, there was the whole gag, if you want to call it a gag, of him losing his watch.
Yeah.
And then obviously, he was blaming the carer for having stolen the watch. Now, I'm not sure if it was Amor, but I've certainly seen exactly the same thing in something. I feel like maybe it was Amor, but if not, something else. And that almost started me off on the wrong foot, because I thought that joke's been done.
Yeah.
Choose another joke.
Yeah, interesting.
Look, I'd have to watch Amore again. I loved Amore, by the way.
It made me want to watch Amore again. Actually,
Yeah.
that was the first thing that I felt watching this film. Was like, I need to see Amore again. Yeah.
Amore's a better film,
I think it's a better
to be
film.
frank.
Amore is a better crafted, better story. I think the performance from some of the performance stuff in here is really great.
Yeah.
But you're right, totally. Amore's a better film.
Yeah, you're right. Better film, but performances you can't go past in this because Anthony Hopkins in particular, Olivia Colman, great.
Yep.
Anthony Hopkins, incredible.
Yeah.
Okay, Amore is one. Let me go. I'm gonna say Castle Rock, which I'm sure I've mentioned that before.
No, you haven't. Because it's something I've wanted to see. I don't think you have. It's something I've wanted to see and I haven't. So.
I think it's in season 1, but one of the seasons of Castle Rock, Sissy Spacek plays an elderly woman who is suffering from dementia, and they mess up her perceptions, and you see some memories from her perspective, and you're never quite comfortable with what's real and what isn't. So I'm not sure I'm describing that well, but it made me. This film made me think of that, where you're really playing with memory, and both Sissy Spacek in Castle Rock and Anthony Hopkins in this. Quite clearly intelligent thinking people who have kind of lost their marbles and are struggling to recapture it and to hang on.
Which is just the worst, isn't it?
It's the worst.
That makes it way... I don't know why that makes it way worse, but it does. If you know that they were powerhouses in some way, this whole loss of identity, loss of memories thing is just devastating.
It's an awful thing. We shouldn't even want to talk about it so much because it affects too many people, and it will affect all of us in some respect, whether it's us or people we know.
I had a clear moment in the middle of this film where I just started thinking about what people did before modern civilization, when people had Alzheimer's or these sorts of conditions. Like, did they even get to that point? Was it even a thing?
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe that they didn't get that old.
Because the understanding of and this is the theme in this film, is like not all the guys get what's going on here and they're not interested in being sympathetic at all.
Well, wasn't that telling in this era where men are the pariahs of the world?
Yeah,
like that really played into it because the boyfriends or husbands or whatever they bloody were, they were awful human beings. How can you not sympathise and support your partner if she's going through this sort of stuff with her father?
Simply because it's not their dad.
That's what it is.
That's what it is. That's not my dad.
Yeah.
And he's being a bit annoying. You know what I mean?
And that's both. It's two things. It's both awful because I'm sure that represents a lot of situations.
Yeah.
And also two-dimensional in that it doesn't represent all situations. And it's a very negative view of the partner, but it's a story, and I think I was happy that they took that negative view just for the sake of the story.
It worked.
It did.
It worked.
Yeah.
It's horrible, but it worked. All right. Reminds me of, for me. I just had it, and it's...
Let me try and think.
I've gone. It's a good one. And I've got it. All right. Back. Okay. Edit that bit out. All right. All right. So another one for me is Mother. Talked about Mother before.
I haven't seen Mother yet.
You haven't seen it before. I could not stop thinking about Mother.
Wow.
Mother's just set in one house.
That's Aronofsky, yeah?
Aronofsky. It's set in one house. It's got a single character whose grasp on reality keeps shifting, and the characters that keep entering are changing the house around her.
Yeah.
And in this film, beautifully done. The house keeps changing. But one thing I really noticed about it is that things start going missing. And as his memories go, books on the bookshelf start clearing out. The chairs start changing. The painting comes off the wall that was his daughter's. And like all the things just start to clear out until it's an empty house almost. And then he gets shipped off to a nursing home. I thought it was so symbolic and beautifully done.
Well, I love Aronofsky, at least 75% of his stuff, so I'm hoping that I love Mother too when
You
I
have to
see it.
Mother. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
it's high on my list. I can't believe I haven't seen it yet.
Mm.
But that was such a feature of this film,
Yeah.
and it goes to you being in Anthony Hopkins' perspective, him playing that so beautifully and letting you into everything it is experiencing. So
Yeah.
that was
Beautiful.
brilliant. It's perfect. I haven't seen it, but it's a perfect. Reminds me, but not quite as perfect as.
Oh, I love it.
Well, look, I've got a couple.
All right, good.
And one of them is another film that we've reviewed, and that's I'm thinking of Ending Things.
Oh, of course.
So that again,
Yes.
it completely involves memory and things shifting, and you're not being sure, like if you're in 1960 or 2020, and just being unsure of what's real time wise and what's not. So it was very very similarly done. I thought
Beautiful.
curtains changing color
Yeah.
and jumpers changing color.
That's a great reference. What a film. I have another one for you. So I actually made a short film based on this short story by Stephen King, and that's a Castle Rock. The universe of Castle Rock comes from Stephen King. That's just a side note. However, he made this short story called Harvey's Dream, and I
Yes.
did an adaptation of it. And I was thinking about it while I was watching this, because the whole point of Harvey's Dream is that is a man who's on this sort of edge of Alzheimer's, wakes up one morning and he's had a dream about the death of his daughter.
Wow.
And while he's telling this dream to his wife is noticing that all the details in the dream match this very morning. And then, of course, she notices this car across the road, which has a dent in it and a little tiny smear of blood. And she realizes that the dream he's had is basically what has happened this morning. The neighbors run over the daughter on the way home from the party, and it all kind of unravels in this elderly man's retelling of his dream.
That's amazing. So here we go, Baron and the Doc learning more about each other.
That's right. That's right.
I can't wait to see that. That really is exactly the sort of thing, because like Anthony Hopkins is like things that happened tomorrow appearing today and yesterday.
Absolutely. The timeline's all out of whack.
That's what I really liked. That if you look at it objectively, the film, it doesn't make any sense. You know, to someone in their right mind, the structure doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Like, it only makes sense in trying to depict the mind of someone going through this.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
so there's no narrative logic, because the daughter changes actor, the nurse changes actor, and all of that sort of stuff.
That was so beautifully done. It got to a point where maybe it was overplayed, but I loved at times the reveal of suddenly his nurse was his daughter, and then the new nurse is someone who played his daughter earlier, and
Yeah.
the husbands kept changing. There were moments where it was done beautifully. Again, I think in the middle, some of that stuff was overplayed a little bit.
Yeah. Well, that leads in beautifully to my last reminds me of,
Awesome.
which is remember we've discussed Louis Benuel. Is that how you pronounce his name? I get no pronunciations right. That this film was that obscure object of desire, and one of the actresses changed actors halfway through.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen it for many years, but like it really stuck with me that you just keep on going with the movie, but the actor has changed, just like in Days of Our Lives, but no one's ever said anything. And that's the feeling I got a couple of times here, and I thought it was used to wonderful effect to mimic what he must be going through, and the sorts of confusion that Anthony Hopkins would be feeling.
It was great. There's one wonderful scene in this that just gives you that sense of the loops and the changing things, where he starts off a scene going for dinner. They're having a conversation about him and putting him in a nursing home.
Yeah.
And it's a chicken dinner. The chicken's a theme in this film for some reason. But he enters awkwardly after overhearing them say that they're going to put him in a nursing home. They have the chicken dinner. His daughter puts it away in the kitchen. He wants more chicken, so he goes to get it. and while he goes to get it, they start running the exact same scene again.
Mm.
And at the end of it, he walks back in again and overhears the same ending of the same conversation. Like, it seems simple, but some of that stuff is beautiful, you know.
No, that was the best scene in the film.
Yeah.
That was beautifully done because you didn't expect it, and it was such a reveal when it came back on itself.
Yeah.
It was so beautiful. And I think there was another one that was similar where he got up in the morning and he was talking to one of the versions of his carer. He was in his pajamas and they were talking about him getting into his clothes.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, without any seams in the scene, all of a sudden it was 8 p.m. and he was still in his pajamas and he was talking about it.
Yeah. Or was it the day before? Like, he was
good point.
Yeah.
But there were different characters around him, different versions of his daughter and his carer and his whole life and his apartment. You don't know what was traveling around him, but all of a sudden it was the end of the day and he couldn't. We've stayed with him till then, and we also couldn't understand how it could possibly be 8 p.m. when he's just got up. It was things like that made you feel like he feels and be disconnected, and is the beauty of it.
What a touching, sympathetic view at this condition that you just haven't seen before. I think we've seen, like you said before, we've seen the external view of it lots of times. And there's some sympathy that you can glean from that. But being in the middle of it, that's the only way. In fact, the only way to probably have sympathy for anything is to be in the middle of it. So that way it's quite powerful.
If I look back on my reminds me of, I think that while a better film was on the outside of someone dealing with someone going through something, Castle Rock was kind of trying to show you how it feels to be in the middle. But this really, really made you feel like you were Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah.
And what it might feel like to just be out of control and be thrown from one situation to another and yet be such a smart chap.
Yes, absolutely.
Smart, egotistical chap. And even that comes through, doesn't it? His personality comes through.
Absolutely, which is good. It needed to. It doesn't seem like a victim the whole way through.
No.
One last thought from me was that this was a horrific situation. And I kept thinking, this is horror. In one level, I feel like I'm watching horror right now.
Wow, yeah, true.
Because it was terrifying, that whole situation. As scary as any horror I've ever seen. You know, that loss of of your identity and all of your memories and your grip on reality, that's probably the ultimate horror. It doesn't get any worse than that.
Isn't it funny how it's a matter of how you play it, isn't it? Because that probably either could be or has been adapted for a horror effect.
Yeah.
And is the most horrific thing you can think of. And here it's played as real life. And it is true to real life. So just the way that you present these things has such a difference in how you perceive them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So would you suggest that people come to Palace Pentridge Cinema, as we've done several times already, have a few drinks, summon the Baron again, and watch this film when it gets released?
Always, absolutely. No, I think this is actually, of the handful of films we've seen recently, this is a pick for me, for sure.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I agree.
Worth coming into the cinema to see, absolutely.
Okay, well, I hope people agree. I hope people listen to us crap on about it. I think it's well worth it, and we'll see you next time.
Absolutely, Doc. Catch you next time.
See you, Baron.